What does it mean to become an adult? The meaning of adulthood through the science of feeling. Early morning. Someone wakes in the dark and sits up in silence. Today, that person was recognized. Everyone offered their congratulations. But now, alone, a sadness without reason moves quietly inside the chest. The person asks themselves a question. Am I not already an adult? Why am I still like this? Inside this single scene lies one of the deep misunderstandings of our age. An adult does not cry. An adult does not waver. An adult controls their feelings. Are these statements actually true? And if they are not, what does it really mean to become an adult? This is what we ask today. Modern society speaks without ceasing. Be strong, conceal it, endure it, prove yourself. And so many people come to believe that becoming an adult is the hardening of the heart. But hardness often is the heart turning to stone. It is the closing of one's own feeling in order not to feel anything at all. But the person who can no longer feel is not in truth a strong person. They are only someone who has become unable to hear the voice of life speaking inside them. The 17th century philosopher Baruch Spinoza saw this clearly long ago. Every living being, he wrote, has as its very nature an effort to preserve its own existence. Spinoza gave this effort a name. He called it conatus. A feeling is the language of this conatus. Sadness is the body's way of remembering what it has lost. Fear is the body's way of protecting its own life. Anger is the body's way of saying that something precious has been damaged. Joy is the moment in which the body's power to exist becomes wider. So becoming an adult is not the removal of feeling. It is the deeper understanding of feeling. It is the learning of where a feeling comes from, what it seeks to protect, what truth of life it is trying to tell. The moment this learning begins, a human being begins at last to become an adult. So where do we begin to understand our own feeling? The first place to return to is this body now. I exist now. My body is now alive. This fact is so simple that we forget it often. But inside this simple fact lies the deepest truth of human existence. My body did not come into being by accident. My body was formed within long stretches of time and space, within the body of another living being, through long waiting and long shaping, before coming into this world. We were all brought into being inside the body of another person. Inside that body, our own body took shape. Inside that body, our own heart first began to beat. Inside that body, our life prepared to enter the world. We do not remember that time directly. But the inability to remember does not erase the truth. Spinoza gave this kind of truth a name: self-cause. The ground of one's own existence is held not outside, but within oneself. The fact that I exist now is not something an external evaluation decides for me. It is not a truth that a report card delivers. It is not a truth that a workplace delivers. It is not a value that another's recognition creates. The fact that my body is now alive is a truth my own mind can understand from within itself, by itself. And inside this self-understanding, the first door of adulthood opens. Now we step further. What does it mean that my body exists now? Here we must distinguish two ideas that are easily confused: possibility and necessity. A possibility is what may or may not be. A necessity is what must, by its very nature, be. We often speak this way: I was born within the possibility of love. But this sentence is not the same as the conclusion the science of feeling has reached. The science of feeling says something different. I was born within the necessity of love. The difference between these two sentences is decisive. If it is possibility, then love might have been there or might not. The origin of my existence is then accidental. If it is necessity, then love must by the very nature of the event have been there. Without it, I could not, by the very nature of the event, exist. In the very event of life holding life, of life protecting life, of life sending another life into the world, there is the most original form of love. Love does not appear only as warm words. Love is, first of all, the power that brings a life into being. So the fact that I exist now is the analytic proposition that there was, of necessity, life at my beginning. And in the place where life gives birth to life, there was, of necessity, love. This is not memory, this is not feeling as experience. This is an analytic truth my mind can understand directly from the simple fact that I now exist. Spinoza gave this kind of understanding a name. He called it scientia intuitiva, the intuitive science. The Joseon scholar Toegye Yi Hwang called the same place by another name. He called it ribal gisu, liarises, and gi follows. The necessity that is essential to my existence is understood with clarity first, and upon that understanding, my body and my feeling of this very moment are seen anew. Before this analytic truth, one thing more must be made clear. Not every person has received enough love from their parents. Some were wounded, some felt abandoned. Some, in the name of a parent, endured suffering too deep to speak. That suffering is never light. That wound must never be denied. But that wound is the truth of experience. The origin of one's existence is the truth of an analytic proposition. These two truths live on different levels. The presence of a wound does not turn the whole origin of one's being into hatred. I was born in a place deeper than the wound. I was born in a place deeper than the evaluation. I was born in a place deeper than the failure. I was born within the necessity of love. This is the second door of adulthood. Now the meaning of feeling changes. A feeling is the change of the body. Because the body lives, a feeling arises. And if the body came into being within the necessity of love, then a feeling, the change of that very body, must be understood within the same necessity of love. This is the heart of the science of feeling. It is not only joy that lives within love. Sadness lives within love. Anger lives within love. Fear lives within love. Loneliness lives within love. Because every feeling is the language by which a living body seeks to protect its own life and its own love. When we are sad, we feel that something precious has been lost. So sadness is the proof that something precious was there. When we are afraid, we tremble at the possibility of losing something. So fear is the signal of a life seeking to protect itself. When we are angry, we feel that something has been wrongly damaged. So anger is the strength of a life protecting its own dignity. When we are lonely, we long to be connected to another. So loneliness is not the absence of love. It is the memory within the body of the necessity of love. Seen this way, a feeling is not evil. And here, the science of feeling arrives at a single conclusion. Every feeling, sadness, anger, fear, even loneliness, is, in its very existence, pure goodness without evil. There are no evil feelings. There is only an inadequate understanding of them. A sadness that is not understood can become despair. A fear that is not understood can become aggression. An anger that is not understood can become destruction. A loneliness that is not understood can become the denial of oneself, but a feeling understood from within in the necessity of its own nature becomes the very strength by which one loves one's own existence. Confucius gave this world of such human beings a name. He called it a world that is good through and through. The names differ. The place they point to is one. So what then does it mean to become an adult? To become an adult is not to become someone who is no longer wounded. It is not to become someone who no longer feels sorrow. It is not to become someone who no longer wavers. To become an adult is to become someone who can understand the self that wavers, the one who asks inside sadness what life has lost, the one who asks inside anger what love is trying to protect, the one who asks inside fear what the body is trying to keep safe, the one who asks inside loneliness which necessity of love is being remembered. The one who asks such questions is not swept away by feeling, nor do they cast their feeling aside. They learn their feeling. And in learning their feeling, they learn themselves. In learning themselves, they come to understand the necessity of their own existence. In understanding the necessity of their own existence, the love of oneself at last begins. This love of oneself is not selfishness. It is the power to understand analytically that one's own existence began within the necessity of life and the necessity of love, and that power extends of necessity to the other. Because if I was born this way, then the other of necessity was born this way too. If my body lives within the necessity of love, the body of another lives within the same necessity. If my feeling is the language by which life and love are protected, the feeling of another is the same language. The human being who understands their own feeling in this way no longer passes careless judgment on the feeling of another. And this is the beginning of the strength of mind by which one can love the world. To become an adult is not to grow older in years. To become an adult is not to lose one's feelings. To become an adult is not to pretend to be strong. To become an adult is, inside endless time and endless space, to feel endlessly new feelings, and yet inside every one of them to understand the necessity of life and the necessity of love. I exist now. My body is now alive. This body came into the world not in the possibility of love, but in the necessity of love. So the change of my body, my feeling, is not unrelated to the necessity of love. Sadness lives within love. Anger lives within love. Fear lives within love. Loneliness lives within love. When this is understood, I no longer hate my own feeling. I no longer deny my own body. I no longer place my existence at the mercy of external evaluation. I begin at last to love myself, and when one can love oneself, one can at last love another. When one can love another, one can at last love the world. This is what it means to become an adult. The world does not grow brighter through more information alone. The world does not grow brighter through faster technology alone. The world grows brighter, a little at a time, when a human being who has understood the necessity of their own feeling loves themselves, and through that love loves another life. Perhaps what we truly need to learn is not how to succeed, but how to become an adult. And to become an adult is to understand every feeling within oneself inside the light of the necessity of life and of love.